going to discuss Malcolm X. This is what we're going to discuss. Zionist logic, Malcolm X. Yeah, I'm going to discuss Malcolm X. But before it, I'm going to play a look at 2 minutes of music, you know? 2 minutes of some militant music, you understand?
The place get hotter, them a go for. The musical casa independent, them a go for. The Muslim brigade make it ready, they fear when they in a gunfire. The place get hotter, militants them fire. Nothing to retire, cause victory a pressure that is for them desire. Political casa, cause the rocket them to fire. Political casa independent, them a go for. 1988 the Muslim movement start. From then till now, them a grow stronger. Israel want to try to come liquidate them.
2 minutes of music, 2 minutes.
Every time they multiply,
To the local youths.
political casa come to the people them. Another crusade war, we don't know old wars. We looking at the Bible and
Read the prophecy.
Son of man said to Israel, the end is come. Defend Jerusalem and drop the sword against the land of Israel. Cut them off from the righteous, the Palestinians, and the land them was
Militants.
occupied and captured. The game for prophecy is to unfold. The truth is written out in desolation as Israel shall come to a pass for the occupied. You know the Muslim, not the West Bank. Freedom must come to the people them. And over East Jerusalem, they were going to start. Freedom must come to the people.
Alright, this is it.
DJ Cypher, SL Cypher. Gaza Sound and the Cypher Sound. Gaza Sound. DJ Cypher, SL Cypher. Gaza Sound and the Cypher Sound. Gaza Sound.
Alright, that look intro, you know what I say? Play some music, guys. Right now, so I'm getting a Malcolm X. Zionist logic. Zionist logic, Malcolm X. So let me tell you what came across it, because I hear people talk about Malcolm X spoke and Palestine, but I never really hear it or see anything. So a man put something on his Facebook page, and he said that Malcolm X, the article was about Malcolm X and Palestine. But when you read, no, the headline was about Malcolm X and Palestine. But when you read the article, it's not about Malcolm X and Palestine. It's about black American issues, you know, racism, whatever. So I didn't really find the article interesting to read, you know. So what I did went to go on YouTube and I wrote Malcolm X and Palestine. And a video came up with Malcolm X and a person discussing that when Malcolm X went to West Asia, you know, when he went to Hajj, they didn't make him publicly speak, but they allowed him to write an article in the Egyptian Gazeete paper. So he wrote Zionist logic, Malcolm X and Zionism. So I read the whole article. So I print out, so I'm going to discuss it tonight. You don't, so 3 papers, so 3 papers. So I'm going to start read the first paper. Malcolm X and Zionism, September 17, 1964. Like I said, I never really hear Malcolm X and Palestine. All the videos I watch is Malcolm X on issues of injustice in America. So, cause when a lot of blacks might use Malcolm X's name, but they're not going in depths about Zionism. You know, that's their country. Maybe they feel the citizen that's Zionism going to come on them. So they don't really go in depths. Cause I never hear about this before. If I hear look at 1, 2 things, it's not to be seen. But so I'm going to discuss it. Because if you're going to upload a man headline, I write something totally different for your cause, that's shabby. You know, I see that as coward, but people do what they want to do. When you write about a man topic, you discuss it. Because if a man put talk about slavery, you're going to discuss it without fearing the white people, because you know it's truthful. So why would a black American like Malcolm X, that a lot of people inspired by him, you know, Malik El Had Shabazz. So when you discuss Malcolm X and Palestine, you're supposed to go all the way. Don't just use the headline and then you write about your problem. You know, that's, to me, that's half-stepping, but each individual use their media how they want to use it. So I use it because I sing against Israel for Palestine. So I have to go straight. So I'm going to discuss Zionist logic, Malcolm X, and Palestine. Alright, so we're going to start right now. The first paragraph. The Zionist armies that now occupy Palestine claim their ancient Jewish prophets predicted that in the last days of this world, their own God would raise them up a Messiah who would lead them to their promised land, and they would set up their own divine government in this newly gained land. This divine government would enable them to rule all other nations with a rod of iron. If the Israeli Zionists believe their present occupation of Arab Palestine is the fulfillment of predictions made by their Jewish prophets, then they also religiously believe that Israel must fulfill its divine mission to rule all other nations with a rod of irons, which only means a different form of iron-like rule. Different form of iron-like rule, more firmly entrenched even than that of the former European colonial powers. These Israeli Zionists religiously believe their Jewish God has chosen them to replace the outdated European colonialism with a new form of colonialism. So well discussed that it will, okay, read that part again. Out there, European colonialism with a new form of colonialism so well disguised that it will enable them to deceive the African masses into submitting willingly to their divine authority and guidance without the African masses being aware that they are still colonized. I always use the word colonized. I don't use the word apartheid. Apartheid is not. Jews, Israelis in Palestine, it's not apartheid, it's colonialism. It's a different form. What the Jews, white supremacists do with racist people, they don't care about the Arabic, the Palestine to lose their Arabic language. They don't care about enforcing their religion on the Palestine to become Jews. They're using the land thing. It's a colonialism thing. So stop, refrain yourself from calling apartheid to talk about South Africa. South Africa was apartheid. Down there is colonialism. So, all right, paragraph 2 now, camouflage. The Israeli Zionists are convinced they have successfully camouflaged their new kind of colonialism. Their colonialism appears to be more benevolent, more philanthropic, a system which they rule simply by getting their potential victim to accept their friendly offers of economic aid and other tempting gifts that they dangle in front of the new independent African nations, whose economics are experienced great difficulties. During the 19th century, when the masses here in Africa were largely illiterate, it was easy for European imperialists to rule them with force and fear. But in this present era of enlightenment, the African masses are awakening, and it is impossible to hold them in check now with the antiquated methods of the 19th century. The imperialists, therefore, have been compelled to devise new methods. Since they can no longer force or frighten the masses into submission, they must devise modern methods that will enable them to maneuver the African masses into willing submission. You see, they come with aid. It's the same thing. Now they come with aid. That what they call it? That peace treaty, Camp David peace treaty. You sign, you get aid. They give you gifts. They give you aid. That's what they do. They've been doing it for a long time. The same thing going on among the Muslims, well, towards the Sunni Muslim Arab, But the Jews know they can't fool the Shiites. But anyway, well, the Shiites in that section, West Asia. So, all right, paragraph 3 now. The modern 20th century weapon of neo-imperialism is Daoism. The Zionists have mastered the science of Daoism, the ability to come posing as a friend and a benefactor, bearing gifts, all other forms of economic aid, and offers of technical assistance. Thus, the power and influence of Zionists, Israel is many of the newly independent African nations has fast become even more unshakable than that of the 18th century European colonists. And this kind new of Zionist colonialism differs only in form and method, but never in motive or objective. At the close of the 19th century, when European imperialists wisely foresaw that the awakening masses of Africa would not submit to their old method of ruling through force and fear. These ever-scheming imperialists have to create a new weapon and to find a new base for that weapon. Dollarism. Dollarism, the number one weapon of 20th century imperialists is Zionist dollarism. And one of the main bases for this weapon is Zionist Israel. The ever-scheming European imperialist wisely placed Israel where she could geographically divide the Arab world, infiltrate and sow the seed of dissension among African leaders, and also divide the Africans against the Asians. Zionist Israel's occupation of Arab Palestine has forced the Arab world to waste billions of precious dollars on armaments, making it impossible for these newly independent Arab nations to concentrate on strengthening the economy of their countries and elevate the living standard of their people. And the continued low standard of living in the Arab world has been skillfully used by the Zionist propagandists to make it appear to the Africans that the Arab leaders are not intellectual or technically qualified to lift the living standard of their people, thus indirectly inducing Africans to turn away from Arabs and towards the Israelis or teachers and technical assistants. They cripple the bird's wing and then condemn it for not flying as fast as they. The imperialists always make themselves look good, but it is only because they are competing against economically crippled, newly independent countries whose economies are actually crippled by the Zionist capitalist conspiracy. They can't stand against fair competition. Thus they dread Gamal Abdel Nasser call for African-Arab unity under socialism. Messiah, the last chapter now. If the religious claim of the Zionists is true that they were to be led to the promised land by their Messiah, and Israel's present occupation of Arab Palestine is a fulfillment of that prophecy, where is their Messiah whom their prophets said would get the credit for leading them there? It was Ralph Bunche who negotiated the Zionists into position of occupied Palestine. Is Ralph Bunche the Messiah of Zionism? If Ralph Bunche is not their Messiah and their Messiah has not yet come, then what are they doing in Palestine ahead of their Messiah? Did the Zionists have the legal or moral right to invade Arab Palestine, uproot its Arab citizens from their homes and seize all Arab property for themselves just based on their religious claim that their forefathers lived there thousands of years ago? Only 1,000 years ago, the Moors lived in Spain. Would this give the Moors of today the legal and moral right to invade the Iberian Peninsula, drive out its Spanish citizens, and then set up a new Morocco nation, where Spain used to be, as the European Zionists have done to our Arab brothers and sisters in Palestine? In short, the Zionists argue to justify Israel's present occupation of Arab Palestine has no intelligent or legal base in history. Not even in their own religion. Where is their Messiah? Yeah, so this is Malcolm X and Zionism. 3 pages. Malcolm X and Zionism. So I'm discussing it here. Very interesting. He said, Palestinian brothers and sisters. Yeah. That's why I say Arab brothers and say Arab, right? Or Muslim. So I look at them. So most people, 5% will look at me different, because they say that's not mathematics. You know, mathematics is the black man mean God, the white man mean devil, the black woman this, that. Yeah, that's them. I elevate from that, but I still use it. But I like politics. Why the mind, you know? So the Israel, with the help of America, America give Israel the biggest aid. White supremacists, you know? Not all of them, but Israel is a white supremacist. It was built by colonialism, so its root as a racist regime. Colonialism is racist. It's people that don't see you to be equal to their level. Yeah, you got a lot of black leaders out there, black people, lit professors. They find history, but they find love They found history and they still coward. I'm just me. A Jamaican, this is just me here. So what do you want to call me a Jamaican? What do you want to call me a 5%? Or you want to call me a Muslim? You want to call me a God? I'm this Jamaican seeing what I see. So where's the Jewish Messiah? Because if I'm going to be a Messiah, I would have to be a Messiah for the Palestinians. For Islam, for Jerusalem, I will get credit. And living in Jamaica, ain't no credit come to me. When I give my credit, I write my stories to prove that because of my influence, these things took place. So I give myself credit. The Christian will not give me credit. But back to the Zionists now. So Malcolm X said the Zionists used predictions, see, to get land, government. The Christians in Jamaica, they use the Bible to praise God, expect to go to heaven. Some of them actually read the Bible, get a verse, and create a new church and say, this verse we're going to use to praise our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. This is the lower class of Christianity in the black perspective. The white people always have the higher class of Christian because they use it to rule. They colonialize the whole world under Christianity and the Bible. So the higher, you have the lower self-Christian. The one who sing, he think going to heaven. He don't care about ruling nothing. He just want to please his God. While the white people, from Christian white people to Jewish white people, using the same Bible book to claim a land, and they call it prophecy. The racist prophecy, but weapons. If they didn't have the weapons, they wouldn't be so, but weapon. That's why you gotta respect those who got weapons, like Iran, like the resistance weapon. Like you said, aid. A lot of them Arabs like aid. A lot of countries love aid. And aid keep you down. Whether it's because of Jewish or European political system, aid make you weak. It's good to take aid if you're going to use that aid to build, that you no longer have to depend on it. You know what I'm saying? So when Anwar said aside Egypt with Israel, you get aid. Egyptians got aid from when that peace treaty signed, they get aid. Jordan signed with America, Israel, I think they get some aid too. And them Arabs who signed with America and that Camp David, I call it the White House, they get some type of economical aid because like the Jews said, they feel the Arabs are not that intelligent. And they want the whole world to come to Israel, to go into Africa, boost their economic, and stay away from the Arabs. You know what I'm saying? So this is the politics. So that's why I always respect Malcolm X as a speaker. He inspired me. Yeah, but sorry what happened to him, but that's the past. But like I said, this is Malcolm X and Zionism. So when you see me about Zionism, Jamaican DJ, militant music, gather sound, everything positive I come with, a lot of people want to distort it in Jamaica. Let's say St. Catherine and to mainstream media. So I use my own media, social media. So big up somebody could comment like, I can't pronounce his name or not, CB. Yes, me and him always go good in our inbox and probably for Africa somewhere. So big up all the good people them still. But this is a Malcolm X thing. So like I said, a lot of African Americans, when they talk about Malcolm and Palestine, they don't really go in depth because they're scared that the Jews come down on them. And when Jews come down on them, they apologize. They're not defending nothing. And I refrain from using the word Holocaust. And there's no such thing as a black Holocaust in my writing. So in my fan base, we don't use that term. That's Jewish thing. The Holocaust is a word that developed after World War II. The Zionists got their genocide. Jews got their genocides in Poland and Germany, and they came with the word Holocaust. Some of the word derived from Jewish language, Hebrew language, and they call it Holocaust. There was no such thing as a black Holocaust. So I refrained from using it because I came to my sense. A lot of people know I was wrong, but they never corrected me because long as they like a lot of them like hearing that there's only one Holocaust and that the black Holocaust was worse than the Jewish Holocaust. There's no such thing as a black Holocaust. So a lot of them knew I was wrong, but they never corrected me. Yeah, but I always correct myself. One transatlantic slave trade, according to my pen. One Holocaust, according to my pen. So you go do your blogging, just don't worry about me, go do your thing. So Ismail Shabazz, GRC militant, Dallaism, Messiah. Like I said, if I'm going to be a Messiah, I'll go there for Palestine to reclaim by Jerusalem and get credit. Last Saladin did it. I did it. I can't claim to Messiah for black people. When I'm dead, they'll give me the credit. So I'm going to do the real world action. People dying, people oppressing, and the white doing it with American aid. And the Sunni Muslims, they don't look at Palestine like the Shia, like Iran and Hezbollah and those people follow Imam Khomeini's strategy against Zionism. Because Israel growing bigger and bigger in Palestine. Every year they talk about Al-Quds, they rally, and Jerusalem, they rally, and yet Israel land, colonialism land is stretching bigger and bigger and bigger. So I don't know what does it do. They say Iran is a threat, but Iran no threat to Israel because Israel growing still. So I don't know. Sometimes I look at where all this organizing going from, you know? Palestine right there in the middle of Islam, and still the Arab feel the Jewish prophets are better than Allah, are mightier than the Quran or any handful of war or decree or fatwa, whatever they call it. They got so much of those leaders over there. I don't know what they do for Palestine. Boy, it's so sad still. But you know, I use it for the Bible. You know, say Ezekiel. You know, so only fish you're gonna tell. So Ismail Shabazz out.